Well, what I've come to know about the UU tradition, the freedom of thought, the freedom of belief, the actual living based on a certain set of principles rather than just by a set of beliefs, is inspiring to me, and I think what I was seeking out. Also, I'm really inspired by all the generosity that I see among the congregation and so many people giving so much of their time, which I know I don't feel I'm in a position in my life right now to give as much, but just seeing how much people do give and how much people really do live by the principles here and what I've seen and got to know about people personally has really inspired my giving. I think being a part of this congregation has certainly inspired me intellectually. I wouldn't say I've really changed my beliefs about some of the big questions as being part of it, but I felt more comfortable in my own beliefs and just feel welcomed in being a part of the congregation. I also think that it's helped in some ways to help me be more confident in myself. One example is just being inspired by the music. One of the things I love about coming here is listening to Barbara and others who play the piano, every service. Learning about the program that Barbara's teaching, the music program, inspired me to start studying piano again, and then actually have the courage to perform in front of the congregation, which has always been something I've wanted to do. It's just something kind of an aside, but because people are so, I think, accepting here, and people are pulling for you. It made me just feel welcome. In the beginning, I was a little shy sometimes with the coffee hours, but over time, I felt like I've just become more and more comfortable because I really do feel that people are accepting and wanting the best for everyone else here. I think I had somehow learned that there was a small congregation of UUs here. I can't remember who. It might have been through the Millers because I knew people who knew them. And I had been raised Catholic, but had long, long ago, probably when I was about 18 or 19, really completely departed from the Catholic faith. But I felt somewhat of a void in my life for some time. And also I was looking to try to find an experience for my son, somewhere we could go where he would maybe just learn about some other faiths, learn to be a better person perhaps, or because, that I guess coming here and learning about the principles really did spur us on to continue on and how welcoming the congregation was. So I do think I found what I was looking for with Unitarian Universalism and particularly this congregation. And while it's just me now that's coming, I feel that my son really did gain a great deal from being here and still enjoys getting together periodically with the kids, particularly at the Murray Grove. That's become a real tradition for us. So I know it has had an impact on him, and I'm going to continue on, even though it's just me. That's fine. It's my thing.
I write a check out every week or every other week to fund what happens here and to show that I need to do something to make the world a better place, and this is one of the ways that I do it, to support all the things that we're doing here and to support the staff, and it's much better than writing a check to a big charity that is also doing work that I approve of, but these are people that I see every week and I have a personal relationship with, and that makes me feel good. Well, I pretty much budget for giving to this congregation by giving to UUCSJS first, and then adjusting my entertainment and my disposable income around that. I know that I want to give on a committed, regular basis, so it's just part of my budget. It's not what's left over at the end of the month. I am so happy that UUCSJS is here for people who don't feel that they fit into the more conservative culture, and we're not alone. We do have important things to say and important things to do to make the world a better place. For me, this congregation is just so important to me on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, because I work from home and I don't have a lot of contact with people in a workplace, for example. So here's where I go to bounce ideas off of people. I feel like I belong. It's a social setting, as well as something that challenges me intellectually and spiritually and emotionally. So I really need this place to be a whole person. Well, I first came here many years ago when the congregation was first starting out, and immediately knew that I belonged. Over the years, I've been involved in various capacities. I've served on the board, but mostly I've been involved with the communications tasks of the congregation, the newsletter and the website, and now social media, and just getting our word out. So for me, my involvement is not just on Sundays, but almost every day. I'm looking at the news and what can we share, what information can we share with each other, what kind of supportive information do people need in this congregation. And that makes me feel connected every day to this congregation. Let me just offer this piece. I'm an empty nester. I have kids that are grown. When I come to this congregation and see the children, it's such a joyful experience to see that families can come here and children can learn, not just learn about other faiths and what UU is all about, but they get support from each other and the adults here. And many of them are feeling that maybe they don't belong with other groups of children that they interact with. But here, they're totally accepted for who they are, and we encourage their searching for what kind of ideas that they want to explore, and they can really be their whole selves. And I think that's so important. This year's campaign is really a reference to the fact that we want to be calling a minister, and really is our future in that we get stability and a vision and a minister that can guide us into the future. Of late, we've been really reaching out to the community and getting involved with various social justice initiatives, and this will be so good for us to have a leader that can really guide us and congeal all these ideas that we have of wanting to help in the world and help us get there.
We moved here about 10 years ago, and Ron was offered a job at the local university, and we'd never been to New Jersey before. And when he called me on the phone saying, "Oh, I have this job, what do you think about moving to New Jersey?" I was like, Well, I don't know. One of the first questions I asked him was, is there a UU church there? Is there a UU congregation? And you said,
Yes, that there was, and that made a big difference. That made a huge difference. So, and it made a huge difference in our family when we moved here to have a comforting, welcoming community to be part of, and that in all of our moves, that has always eased the transition between when moving to a new place, is to have the UU church in the community.
we didn't know anyone here, and we basically just immediately felt that connection. You have a emotional support group and a spiritual support group, and at the time we moved, our kids were still in grade school, so they were immediately welcomed into the RE program. And in fact, our older son still has a best friend from his first encounter in RE, so that we really valued that. And we've definitely seen this community grow over the years we've been here, because when we first started out, we were in the Newman Center, right?
Yeah.
And got kicked out of there, and then we saw the growth of building this building, and we're very impressed by that. And now we're seeing more growth and looking forward to that next step of having a called minister.
I'm very thankful to be a part of this congregation because we're actually part of the larger Unitarian Universalist Association, and they do something that I think is fantastic, and that is they have a General Assembly every year where people gather and they come up with an action item that the congregations follow. And if I go back to changes that I've made in my life, they have come from these sort of well-reasoned, well-thought-out action issues that the Unitarian Universalist Association comes up with. So ethical eating. Oh, gee, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'll do that. And climate change and climate action. Wow, okay, I better take a role in that. And so these are, I derive a huge amount of personal benefit out of being involved in a congregation that takes the time, both locally, regionally, and nationally, to think about issues and come up with solutions for them that I, as an individual, can take by myself, and I can be part of a larger community and work towards making those things happen on a global scale.
I think you do a better job of doing that outward social justice action than I do. I think I am a little bit maybe more, I don't know if the word is just more inward looking, that I feel like a lot of my benefit I get, again, is from a lot of the social interactions and the spiritual interactions. I'm involved in the music program, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy here. And I do think a minister actually can really help us to bridge that, taking care of each of the individual members, but maybe also helping to make sure that we're involved in the wider community, both locally and also within the UUA. So I'm really looking forward to that, and that's definitely one of the reasons why I will continue to pledge and hopefully increase my pledge to make that happen this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing that's important too is to note that there are those are almost two different the part that's beautiful about Unitarian Universalism and the UUCSJS is those are two very different extremes of what people come to worship service for. Mm-hmm. And both are valued, both are presented, and we
that's what we value.
And that's what we value.
That's why we
diversity,
keep coming back.
and diversity in service, diversity in topics. So it's.
Yeah, again, I do think we've kind of gone the natural progression of starting out without a solid home, and now that we have the church building up and running, and again, I do think it's really time to be on a better track to having him that long time, minister that we can call our own, and again, someone that can really help steer the ship and help to push us into the future. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the other thing that's important about the future is that with all the wonderful things that we know we should be doing both here and in the community, as we grow and as we've been part of the community for longer, it's not like any of the things that we choose to take action on go away. So we accumulate more and more things that are pressing needs in the community. And as those sort of items and action issues that we need to be part of expand, it's important that we expand as well. And part of that is, making pledges to make that happen.
And I think definitely in South Jersey we have good opportunity to do that because we are drawing from such a wide area. I still think we haven't reached a lot of the people that we could reach in this community. So again, I think having a bigger presence and maybe a more vocal presence with a full-time minister will also help to grow the faith, not only for our own congregation, but within the UUA.
We moved down here back in 2002, and we kind of went it alone for a while. We were very much had our own little insular world, but we had a very tough year, and it reminded us of the importance of having a community. And coming down to an area that's very conservative politically and socially, it was hard to accomplish that kind of community. And we had both heard about Unitarian Universalism. We'd both been we were married by a Unitarian minister where we'd lived before. And so we kind of kept an eye on this little congregation we heard about. And then one day I was driving down Pomona Road and over by the Newman Center, and I saw the sandwich board out there, and I said, "Oh, they've moved here. They're closer to our house, so we really should go." Also, especially when we came down here, I was always that kind of doctrinaire atheist, and somebody asked my daughter at one point, "Are you saved?" And I realized that she didn't know what that meant, and that she wasn't really understanding of Christianity or anything, and she wasn't prepared against the kind of toxic version of Christianity that many people have, or that some may have. And so I realized she needed a kind of religious education, and one that wasn't just me indoctrinating her into my own beliefs. And so that was also a big factor in deciding to come to services and see what it was about. I keep coming back because somebody has to do the sound at the services. No, I keep coming back because the congregation is a vital part of our lives. I mean, I can't imagine what our lives would be like if it wasn't for the congregation. The sense of community, the sense of responsibility, the roles that you have, it's very easy to become valuable in the congregation. We need your help, they need our help. I think that's important. The importance of what the congregation is doing in the community and understanding how our growth means more of a need. We're becoming, in a good way, a more professional organization, that we have our own building, we have our own outreach, we have a real place in the community now, especially with our work with Black Lives Matter. We're more visible, we're more controversial, so our needs have become greater, and so the need for, unfortunately, that also means more money needs to come in the way of the congregation, and so I think that that affects my giving. Mainly Rhonda knows when the checks due for each month, but we determine when we have our annual giving process, we try to notch it up a little bit each time, and then we kind of set it and forget it. We give what we can, and then when there are other things come up, we might give for specific issues. But once we've decided, it makes it easier to just give each month regularly. Maybe a specific example is helpful. Because of concerns with security after our Black Lives Matter sign drew a lot more heat than we expected, the need for having good security, video cameras. It's a sad fact that this was critical. And so the need for money and for unexpected reasons shows just how important it is to have a decent nest egg for the congregation. Also, I think having a minister that can kind of rally the troops and be here and be active, that's such a critical, important aspect of our community that I think that's a big part of why this campaign is so important.
So I moved to the area about 20 years ago, and had been raised Unitarian Universalist, so was looking for a UU congregation in the area, and there wasn't one. And about 2 or 3 years after I moved here, a new congregation was forming, and they started to do some public meetings, and I was so excited to be a part of forming a brand new congregation in this area. Before that first public meeting, I guess about 2 weeks before that first public meeting, my husband passed away. And then the community just became so much more important in my life in terms of being a support system for me. And my son was 5 years old at the time. And just having a community that I could bring him to and have excellent role models male role models for him was just so critical. And the church just became a bigger and bigger part of our lives, and until it is my main community. It's a central part of my life. I'm on the board, and I am the treasurer. I also teach in religious education. I think I always feel connected. I teach the pre-K, and I feel connected to the kids that are about the same age as my son was when we first came to the congregation. And I love to see the growth of the children. They come in and maybe they're a little shy and they won't speak up. We do joys and concerns, and I just always feel so good the first time people the kids start sharing their joys and concerns, and finding their own voice in the congregation. And not long after that, they'll start correcting me if I don't say things quite right, or they'll express their own opinions. So I just love that particular age group, because you just see a huge transition in the kids as they come into the classroom. Not wanting to say anything, to just sit and be quiet and behave, and getting to the point that they find their own voice and are not afraid to let you know when they have a difference of opinion. The congregation is just such an important part of my life that it really is, into the budget of, my life. It's just part of, I know it's so important to me to keep the place going and growing, and the programs that we offer here are just so important that I just programming it into my monthly budget. It's just important that it's more important to me. It's an important community connection. So if you think of paying for the internet is important, or your telephone in terms of being connected, this is this is a deeper connection that is way more important than the cable bill or the telephone. So this year we're hoping to call our first minister, and we've had a number of contract ministers that have been with us for a couple of years and then move on. And calling a minister will just give us a new stability and new visibility in the community, and we have matured to a place that we're starting to be a voice in the local community, and that leadership will be so important as we move forward.